We are live from my guest room. It's where I sit. It's where I write music. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Sorry, by the way, if I'm a little bit tired. I just brought my new baby home yesterday, so I've had no sleep in like 3 days. But I'm excited to be here. So let's do this. These questions. What are these? Casey Adeline Conway. How do you handle the negative feedback when releasing new albums? Does the positive outweigh the negative? That's actually a really cool question, because I honestly don't think many people take the time to sit and think about what their words can do and can cause, and the harm they can cause. Because at the end of the day, I think we're people too, or musicians, artists, actors, whoever are people too. And I think there's no repercussions when people just are blatantly rude. So, you know, if you see someone in the street that's overweight, for instance, you don't run across the street and go out of your way to tell that person that they're overweight just to make yourself feel better. And if you do, you're a bit of a prick. But when an artist releases a new song, people will say whatever they want. And having an opinion on someone's music is absolutely fine, because that's what this is. You know, music is subjective. It's all down to people's personal tastes and personal opinions. But the negative, hurtful comments, I think, are unnecessary. But over the years, you know, you kind of just, I guess, learn to live with it, which sounds sad, but it's not sad, because I guess you just learn that for every one negative comment, and by the way, when someone says, I prefer your old music to your new music, that's not a negative comment. That's them being truthful. When someone's just an arse about it, you know, you see for every negative comment, there's 20, 30, 40, 100 good comments. And for every person that doesn't support you or is rude to you, there's 1,000 people that have your back and support you, kind of like a little family, you know. So over the years, it's become a little bit easier to sort of deal with it. But we do have days where it hurts. You know, I get down sometimes when I read spiteful comments and stuff. It does hurt your feelings, especially when, you know, because as a musician or an artist, you spend a lot of time, energy, and effort. You pour yourself into these things, and when someone's not nice about it, it can hurt your feelings. But it's part of it. It's part of the whole thing. So, Cody, when's the demo version of Give You Up coming out? That's an interesting question. I think. So basically, because of COVID-19, the coronavirus, ruining everyone's tour plans, we've got a lot more time on our hands to be thinking about creating new music, releasing songs that may have already been written and people haven't heard yet. So that's all actually being discussed at the moment, like how we want to release new music for people, whether it's brand new songs or previously recorded songs, like I said, that no one's heard, or demo versions of songs that no one's heard. We want to release music much more frequently for you guys to listen to, since we're not going to be able to tour for a little while. Ronnie William, favorite AA album and the most memorable thing when recording an album? Oh man, that is a really mean question, Ronnie, because that's kind of like asking me to pick my favorite child. I nearly picked a favorite child then. That would have been bad. Oh man, I can't pick one. I don't have a favorite or a least favorite. I love them all for different reasons. As songwriters, Asking Alexandria, we are always super honest and super upfront and super open about everything we're going through. We're writing about real stuff, and so every record was written from the heart, you know, at a very real time in our lives. So every single record is a memory for me and a reflection of who we were and where we were and who we are now. So I can't pick a favorite record, if I'm honest, but one of my favorite memories when recording an album was actually our debut album, Stand Up and Scream. I remember when we did the end of Hey There, Mr. Brooks, the sort of creepy do 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 bit with all the screaming and stuff and all the banging. All of that's real, all the banging and everything here. Joey Sturgis got super excited, and in the moment when we were recording that bit, and he started like throwing all the demo CDs he had on the floor and throwing mic stands and kicking the wall in his studio. And he actually put a hole through the wall in his studio and everything. So all of that banging and everything you hear is Joey just losing his mind, and Danny in the background screaming. That's one of my favorite memories. It was really weird. Brendan Mayo, is there a bonus track on the new album? Like I just explained before, there's no bonus track on the new album, but like I explained before, we have decided that we're going to release music far more frequently than we have been in the past, just because it's what we do. We're musicians, and it can't, honestly, the COVID-19, whilst it's terrible and it's awful, it's a terrible thing, and it's put a stop to touring and everything, it's kind of had its silver lining too, as far as it's allowed us to get back in touch with why we started this in the first place. When you're constantly busy and constantly touring, there's what's called, obviously, the record cycle. And so you put out a record and you have to tour it and you have to work it for all these years and years and months and get to a certain point, and then the record cycle ends, and then you're allowed back in the studio to make new music. As a musician, as a songwriter, I love writing music. I don't stop writing music. I never have done. And so it can get frustrating at times not being allowed to, or not being able to put out music as quickly as we might like. So with this whole situation, it's actually allowed us to sort of get back in touch with the fact that we are songwriters and musicians, and create more music and be more free with how often we want to release music and stuff. So I'm kind of excited about that. Brittany, do you intend to continue changing the style of your music? Yes, 100%. And you're not going to wake up one day and we're a jazz band or anything. But I think since day one, Asking Alexandria has been a rock band. We play rock music in all different forms, and we love rock music in all different forms. And you can even go back and listen to as early as Reckless and Relentless and hear blues influence in there, and just Brit rock influence in there, and rock and roll influence in there, 80s rock and roll and hair metal, and all kinds of influences in there, and even death metal and stuff. And so we're at our core, Asking Alexandria has been and always will be a rock band. So any avenue of rock that we feel like we want to explore, continue to explore for the first time, we certainly will do, because we love creating music, and we love pushing our boundaries and pushing ourselves as songwriters and as people. And also, I just feel like people would get bored if we just wrote the same stuff over and over and over again. I don't think it would be fair, So yes, we will continue changing and growing and adapting and writing music that we love, and hopefully you guys love too. There is a line in the song "What's Gonna Be" that says, "Got high ambitions and we're going to be forever chasing destiny." Was this a reference to the From Death to Destiny album? It's essentially the same thing, yeah. That's what From Death to Destiny was. That whole title came from us sort of falling apart at times, but still crawling our way back up and clawing our way back to the top and chasing our destiny. And that album cover, if you noticed, is someone leaving the streets behind, dumping that money on the floor, which was representing us leaving sort of drugs and stuff behind, and walking forward into that door was like an opening into a massive arena. So yeah, I mean that line literally means the exact same thing as From Death to Destiny did, and it's something that we will forever be doing, I'm sure. Cecilia, what inspires you to write new music? I don't know how to not be inspired to write new music. Like I can't stop writing new music ever. Like I'll be having a conversation downstairs with my wife. It could even be like 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night, and we're like, okay, we've put the kids to bed. We can finally have some. Oh, hold that thought. A riff's just entered my head, and I have to run upstairs to this room and start up the computer and get the ideas out. But as far as where the songs come from and the lyrical content and stuff, like I said, we've always been a very honest and open band, and written about what we've been going through at that particular moment in time. So they're definitely all very personal albums. Ty, what other bands do you listen to that have changed their sound or genres around throughout the years? Bands like Bring the Horizon, Dance Game Dance, Attack Attacks, Johnny Frank, and Poppy are a few that I love, from their old stuff to more experimental. Oh man, I mean, I listen to so much different music. Obviously Bring the Horizon's a great example. Avenged Sevenfold, are a fantastic example. If you go back and listen to Sounding the Seventh Trumpet and compare it to City of Evil, to their self-titled, to Nightmare, to Hail to the King, you know, they've changed so much over time. Metallica, you kidding me? They've changed immensely over time, from Kill 'Em All to like Load and Reload and the Black Album. I think it's important when that bands grow and change. And one of my favorite bands that I think is spectacular at keeping listeners on their toes is a band called the Zac Brown Band. Phenomenal band, and people refer to them as a country band. But to me, they're so much more than a country band. And they actually have an album out called Jekyll and Hyde. I think it came out in like 2016 or something. And that proves that they can't be pigeonholed as a country band. On that record, they've got rock song with Chris Cornell. They've got a swing song and a jazz song and a straight up pop EDM song and country songs and piano ballads. And to me, that's just spectacular. And it's something you don't get a lot of artists doing these days. Maybe not through lack of being able to, but more so probably fear of backlash from people, because people like to pigeonhole artists. But the Zac Brown Band, if you like listening to bands evolve and change, would definitely be an awesome band for you to check out. Jennifer, how did you all meet? How did we all meet? Right now on this this live. So, oh no, wait, you mean the band? Man, that's a weird one. So Danny was going to college with Sam, and Cam was in a band with James, and I moved to England. I'd already started Art Alexandria in a place called Dubai, which is where I actually grew up. We moved back to England, and the whole band fell apart, and I needed new members. And I'd met Danny on MySpace, of all places, and we were just friends on MySpace. And I was like, well, do you want to be in my band? And he was like, okay, cool. And he was the guitarist. So me and him just met and became friends playing guitar together. And he introduced me to Sam, who he went to school with. And then he told me about James's local band, because we were looking for a drummer. And so I met James at a local show of James's local band. James then introduced me to Cameron. And we all kind of just fell in love and became best friends forever and ever and ever, except for when I hate them. But most of the time I love them. Kaylee, what is the creative process like when it comes to designing album covers or concepts for the album, and how involved are each of the band members in that process? Normally we're super involved, especially with the last album, actually all of them, but the last one in particular, album 5, the self-titled, basically the 5-sided shape represented each of the 5 members. And the key that was in the middle, basically we were saying, because it was obviously the return of Danny, that it took all 5 of us to come back together to sort of release that key and allow us to continue this journey together, and to continue doing what it is we love to do. So that was a really cool album cover to make. But this new one was a little bit different. Normally we have an idea for album artwork that we go in with, and it's like, okay, we'll work it from there. For this new one, I'd been introduced to an artist, and this is going to sound terrible, I can't actually remember his name. He's an awesome dude. I remember his name, it was Brian, but I can't remember like his company's name, because we talked via text a lot. And I just really liked his style, and I sat there and I thought to myself, all right, when I'm writing and being artistic in the studio, I don't like it when people come in and tell me what to do, because this is my art. This is something that I'm passionate about. And so I went in with the mindset this time, and we all did, that we didn't want to dictate to an artist what he should do for us. So instead, we gave him creative freedom. We said, here's our album, listen to it, live with it for a while. What does it say to you? And he came back with the album artwork that you see. And visually, we loved it. And I was like, I love this, but what does it mean? You know, because the album's called Like a House on Fire, and there's a teeny tiny house on fire, but then there's all this other stuff. Just could you explain it? Like, I love what it looks like visually, but what is it about the album that brought this into your head? And basically, he'd gone through our history. He'd gone back to our roots, the fact that we're English. And he'd gone through all of the lyrics on the album and found his favorite lyrics across the album, and picked and took his favorite lyrics from each song to sort of tell the overall story of the album. And then out of the lyrics and our English background, he created like tarot cards that told the story of Asking Alexandria, which I just thought was so cool. And so much thought and passion went into creating that album artwork, and he absolutely smashed it. Unreal. How do you feel about fans that you've seen grow up over the last decade? I think it's weird because we've grown up too, and sometimes when I see fans that have been with us for the last 10 years and we see each other again, I'm like, whoa, you've gotten so much older and it's so cool. And then I'm like, oh wait, I've gotten so much older. And then I'm like, whoa, we've been doing this for a really, really long time. And it's kind of humbling and it's really cool. And it's so fucking cool to me to see people that have been with us from day one all the way till now, you know. And when we're making new fans along the way, it's fucking amazing. We love and appreciate all of our fans, but you know, the fans that have been here since day one will always have a special place in my heart. And you know, we remember you, Annette. Andre, how many tacos could you eat before vomiting? That's a weird question, Andre. I'm not gonna lie. Also, I've not tried it, but I would say, what kind of tacos? Like, how big are these tacos? Are they the world's biggest tacos? In which case, I probably couldn't even finish one. Are they normal ones? Are they like little dollar ones from Taco Bell? I could probably eat 3 or 4 of those before feeling uncomfortable. As far as throwing them up, I'm not really entirely sure, but I accept the challenge and I shall find out for you. Kevin, will you make a piano version of I Don't Need You? Yes. Yes, we will. And, well, I'm lying. We won't. We already did. And it sounds amazing. And I can't wait to release it. Sean, how do you choose what songs to play on tour? That's actually a really cool question too, because a lot of people get strange when you don't play a song that they particularly wanted to hear or something. One, it gets harder and harder with time. The more albums you have out, the harder it is to pick a set to keep everyone happy, and not just the people in the crowd, also the band. Obviously, when we're there on stage, the show really is about the fans, and it's about what the fans want and deserve and stuff. But also, we have to enjoy the set too. So there's definitely a lot of compromise and give and take. You know, and it greatly depends on the set length that we're given. You know, if we've got a 35-minute set at a festival, you have to try and pick and choose what songs you think will perform best in that environment. And if you've got a set where you're headlining and you can play for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you can play whatever the hell you want, really. But it really just depends. So when we're on tour supporting bands, for instance, when we were supporting Shinedown, we had to think, okay, well, majority of the people in this room are Shinedown fans. This is Shinedown's headline tour. And the sole purpose for us being on this tour is to win over new fans, to obviously to have a good time and give everyone a good show, but to grow the band and to gain more fans and introduce more people to our music. So we have to sit down and think, okay, what do Shinedown fans like? What do they want to hear? And sort of pick and choose a set that works for that particular audience, you know. And if we're going on tour with a heavier band like Slipknot or Slayer, like we did in the past, then we tend to pick our heavier songs to go and attack with, because those are the ones that the crowd are going to enjoy the most. So really, it just depends sort of who the audience is, really. So it's a tough one, but it's a lot of fun, and we try and mix it up as best we can. Also, real quick, I just want to mention that you guys can tip while we're doing this. I'm not asking for money. I'm not going to keep your tips. But anyone that does tip, all of that money is going to be donated to an organization called Save Our Stages. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, they're a fantastic organization. Basically, they're helping all of the independent, smaller venues around the country stay open during this crisis. There's obviously there's huge venues that have a lot of money behind them, but there's so many independent, smaller venues and bar venues and venues that bands grow up in and fans grow up in that can't make any money right now. They're closed. There's no revenue coming in for them. There's no bands coming to play. There's no one going in and drinking or buying food or any of that. So Save Our Stages is a great organization. Like I said, it donates money to these independent venues around the country, so that they can pay their rent, so that they can pay their staff, so that essentially they can keep their doors open, so that when this is all over, you guys all still have your favorite hometown venues to go to and enjoy. So please, if you guys do feel like tipping, all tips will be donated to the Save Our Stages. You can tip at soundrink.live. Thank you, guys. Jordan, what's been the biggest struggle as a band this year, aside from cancelling the tours? How did you guys cope with all of it? That has been the biggest struggle, honestly. And it's not, we're in a very, very, very fortunate position as a band, Ask Alexandria, and I acknowledge that. You know, we've cancelled these tours, and yes, there's a huge loss of income, a loss of earnings coming, which is scary. But you know, we've been working at this long enough and hard enough to where we know we're going to be okay. We're trying to take care of our crew as well. You know, we're not asking people for money to buy our merch so we can help our crew. We're helping them because we love them and they've been with us from the get-go. So we're very, very fortunate. But there are a lot of bands that aren't as fortunate financially as we are, obviously. But for us, it's still been just as devastating, not from a financial standpoint, but just purely because we love touring. We love getting out on that stage and playing songs new and old, and watching people's reactions to them. When we play Moving On or Someone Somewhere, there's people in the audience crying. Or when we play The Violence or Into the Fire, there's people singing at the top of their lungs. Or if we're playing Alone in a Room or Run Free, there's people jumping up and down. And it's the greatest thing in the world, and it makes all the hard work that you put into writing these songs, it makes it all worthwhile. And for that to be taken away, genuinely, it's been devastating for all of us. We're all really, really upset, and we keep rescheduling tours in the hopes that they're going to happen again, and they keep getting pushed. But you know, we'll be back as soon as possible. It's the same as anyone, and we really can't wait for it. What's one of your favorite venues to play at? Oh my God. Okay, so there's a venue. Where is it? Oh man, this is it's hard. I can't. When you travel as much as I do, and you've got as many children as I do, and you're as tired as I am, things get hard to remember. But is it Milwaukee? Is it in Milwaukee or Wisconsin? My favorite venue, you can look it up in America anyway, is a venue called The Rave. It's such a cool venue because it's got so many different stages within the building. The building's got so much history. There's like a small stage on one floor and a slightly bigger stage and a slightly bigger stage, and then there's the Eagles Ballroom at the very top. It's like an 8,000 cap room, and the small stage at the bottom is like a 250 cap room. And we've made our way through that venue over, you know, our 10-year career. We started in the tiny little room at the very, very, very bottom, and then we've made our way up to the top of the Eagles Ballroom. And it's such a cool venue. It holds such a special place in my heart. And then also the Palladium is another really good one. Where is that one? That's not in Boston. It's just outside of Boston. Yeah, the Palladium, amazing venue. Jordan, what's been the biggest struggle as a band this year, aside from cancelling the tours? I already told you this. I already told you, and now I'm upset. Not with you, just with. Am I seeing things? I did tell you that. Touring, not touring. It's been upsetting. You know this, Jordan. Brian Phillips, Ben, do you plan on singing more in upcoming albums? Yeah, I love singing. I actually sang a lot in our new album, Like a House on Fire. I sang in a lot of songs. I did a lot of. In fact, I sang more on this record, the new record, than I did on any other album. There's a fair few solo spots in the record where I'm singing in verses, singing in bridges, singing in verses with Danny, doing backing vocals. So I've actually sang more on this album than any other album. So you just go through and listen to the songs, and you'll pick up little bits of me here and there. Darlene, hi guys, fucking love the new album. Thank you for fulfilling my musical needs. So tell me, where did the name Ask Alexandria come from? I heard 4 different stories. I'd like to hear it from the horse's mouth. You saying I look like a horse? It's because I'm tired, isn't it? Darlene, that's not very nice. I'm upset with you. But the name Ask Alexandria, okay, I'll tell you the real reason, because when we used to do press, we used to just make up reasons. But the real reason is I came up with that name when I was a young kid, My band at the time was called End of Reason. And I was a really young kid. And I was like, man, End of Reason sucks. And there's another million bands called End of Reason. And then I remember I was still living in Dubai at this point, and a band came and played live in Dubai, and they were called A. I'm not sure if you've heard of this band. They're called A. They had a big smash hit single called Nothing back in, I think, the early 2000s or something like that. And I was like, A, why the fuck are they called A? What does that even mean? And then it clicked, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Every single record store, for those of you who don't know what those are because they've disappeared, a record store was heaven on earth. It was a shop dedicated to records and albums, and you would go in as a kid with your pocket money, and you would sit and you would listen to records, and you would flip through your favorite albums, and you would just buy albums and not know what they sounded like, but they had your favorite record label on the back. So you're like, I'm going to buy this album. It was amazing. Anyway, so I was like, this band A, they're geniuses because they're going to be at the front of every record store. They're going to be the first album, literally the first album you see when you go to the rock section of any record store. A will be the first band. I was like, that's so smart. I need a band name that begins with A. And I was sat there thinking, okay, A, and I was going through the dictionary. I was a child trying to find cool words that began with A. And my dad said something to me. He was like, what are some of your favorite bands? And at the time when I was younger, I was like, Slipknot, you know, and he was like, stupid fucking name. And I was like, all right. The Beatles. And he was like, stupid fucking name. And I was like, what's your point? Why are you making fun of all these bands I love? He's like, I'm not. I'm trying to tell you they'll have stupid fucking names. But they're not stupid names because the band is so successful. And when you hear that band's name, you think of their songs and you love the band, you love the song, so you love the name. Essentially, what he was getting at is the name's not important. It doesn't matter. So I was like, okay, well then how do I get a name that people connect with? And I just remember thinking in my head, well, people connect with other people. That's it. You know, you make a connection, a strong bond and connection with other people. So I wanted to name the band as if it was a person. And I came up with Alexandria. I just thought it was a pretty name. I didn't know anyone called Alexandria, so there could be no confusion amongst our friends or anything. It was like, oh, that's a pretty name. Cool. And then I went onto, it was a website back in the day called Pure Volume. I don't know if any of you remember that. And it was kind of like MySpace. You uploaded your music to. And there was already a band on there called Alexandria. So I was really upset. And I was like, oh, God damn it. So I literally just threw asking in front of it. And I was like, that'll do. Stupid band name. Alan, ever been a classical listener yourself? Yes, I listen to a lot of classical music. My dad's favorite is Mozart. Mine is Beethoven. We have big debates about that all the time. But Moonlight Sonata is probably one of my favorite pieces of music ever written. It's a beautiful piece. I'm still listening to it probably daily. Jessica, how did you start to want to be an actor too, and what's your favorite part of being one? I actually never had any interest in becoming an actor. When I was a kid at school, and we did drama classes, I was just far too shy. I didn't want to do any of it. Whenever we had the plays at school, I never wanted to be part of any of them. I was just too shy. So it was never anything that was on my radar. And then obviously I got presented with the opportunity to do American Satan. And I was like, well, maybe it could be cool. I don't really know what I'm doing, but maybe it could be cool. So I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. It might be another creative outlet for me that I might enjoy. And then right before we filmed the movie, I was like, I can't do this. I got too shy again. And I called up the writer, director, producer, and I was like, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I'm out. And he was like, you can't, you're not out. We start filming tomorrow. You can't be out. You'll ruin the whole thing. So I ended up going. And our first day of filming, I landed at the airport. I got picked up and I went straight to set. And they're like, okay, you're on. And I was like, what? And I remember I couldn't talk. I couldn't. I knew the words, but I couldn't say them. All I could say over and over again was water. I need water. And they kept bringing me water. And the producer sat me down. I was like, look, dude, you got this. No one is here to judge you. Just pretend like there's no one here. And so I said my first line, and it was such an adrenaline rush. I was like, holy crap. This is what I feel when I go on stage. It's not scary. It's adrenaline. It was freeing, you know. And so I thoroughly enjoyed making the movie. And I was fortunate enough that I guess I did an okay enough job to where I got picked up by an agent. And obviously the television show has happened, and now I do auditions constantly. So it just kind of was a happy accident that I fell into. Steph Rodriguez, was there a song that was difficult for you to finish writing? Which one? This is going to sound really silly, but no, there wasn't. And that's not because I'm unreal and I'm tooting my own horn or anything. It's literally just because for me, a song should be organic, and it shouldn't be effortless, but it should come very naturally. And if I've been struggling and struggling and struggling and struggling on a song, then to me in my head it's not right. Something isn't there. It's not connecting with me. And so I feel if it's not connecting with me, why would it connect with other people? So I tend to just scrap a song if I can't finish it, or I put it to one side, and maybe one day I wake up and I go, oh my God, that song. Oh my God, I've got the end. And then the end comes naturally. But I'll never force myself to finish or start a song, because then I just feel like the song's not genuine. Is there a country that you've never been and want to go to? Yeah, there's a whole slew of countries and places. I really want to go to Alaska. I know it's not a country, it's a state, but I've never been to Alaska. I'd love to go there. I'd love to go to Madagascar. I think that would be amazing. I've been to a lot of places. I'm very, very, very fortunate. But one place I've never been, which frustrates me a lot, because I grew up in Dubai and I grew up in the Middle East, and I had a lot of friends from this country, but I'd love to go to India. I've never actually managed to go to India. We've been offered shows in India before, and the timing's never quite worked out, so we've never actually got to go over there and play, but I'm super hopeful that we'll get to go to India at some point. Colby, what would you like to do for a living if you didn't have the fame? I don't know, man. You know, I would definitely still be writing music, just because I love it. I've been writing music since probably I was like 3 or 4 on my grandma's piano. So that's just something I never had a backup plan. I never wanted to do anything else. It was never about being famous for me. It was just about being able to write music, and hopefully people along the way hear it. But if I had to choose something else, I don't know. I feel like I wanted to be a vet for a while when I was a kid. I think that would be really awesome. And I think being a police officer would be a cool job too. Keeping people safe, helping people if you can. I think that would be a really interesting job. Jennifer Lowe, what was the story behind Alone in a Room? I mean, that was the return of Danny. That was Danny. So when me and Danny first reconnected, it was like nothing had happened. Our spark was there immediately, and we didn't reconnect to continue asking. We reconnected, and totally by accident. I was in LA filming a movie. He happened to be there doing some solo stuff, I think, and we bumped into each other, and we ended up hanging out all night, and the spark was there, and we had such a great time. So that when he rejoined the band, you know, friendship was cool. It was rekindled, but there was always obviously something left unsaid. We hadn't really spoken about the departure and the breakup and how much it hurt me and how hurt he must have been and all that stuff. And so I remember the first time we were in the studio and I'd finished writing the music for Alone in a Room, Danny came in and was like, okay, just hit record. I'm going to sing the song. And I'd not heard any of the lyrics or anything. And the first words that came out of his mouth is, I've been away a little while. And I was like, wow, he's addressing it. This is it. This is the thing that we've never spoken about, we've never addressed. And he addressed it right there through song, which, you know, it goes back to what I said in the beginning of this. We're very honest and very open songwriters. And so we never had to address it again after that, really. That was it. And the song was us addressing it. And it was a really magic moment that I don't think I'll ever forget. Do you like smaller venues or large arenas? I love both for very, very different reasons. Large arenas, obviously you walk out on stage and you're like, whoa, this is nuts. When you tell everyone to get their lighters or their phones in the air and you see just, it looks like the open sky. You know, it's just like a room filled with lights. It's magic. When people are singing at the top of their lungs in those massive arenas, that it echoes, it booms. You feel the thousands of voices hitting you on stage, and it's like, whoa, this is cool. So arenas are unreal for that reason. But at the same time, they can feel very impersonal. There's a quite often a big gap between the crowd and the band, which I don't like. I don't like that. So when we're playing in a smaller venue, I love the fact that the crowd is right there. Our fans are right there. I can see in everyone's eyes. I can sing not just at someone, but with someone. You know, there's a real connection. It's much easier to make a connection with individual people in a smaller venue. So I love both because I love performing live, and I love both for very, very different reasons. But both have their pros and their cons. Daniel, how do you think about glam rock? Does it need to return? I love glam rock. You know, like I said, I like all kinds of rock music. As far as does it need to return, I don't know that any music needs to return, but I'm sure it will at some point. Music tends to go in cycles, and things come back around. They go around and come around time and time again, slightly different than the previous rendition. So, you know, I'm sure it will come back when the time is right. The biggest life lesson AA has taught you? Just to always be yourself, I think. We were a super young band when we sort of got our first taste of fame. And we were so young, we were kids, you know, and we were easily sort of manipulated and led down paths, and drugs and alcohol became a big thing in our lives. And you know, when I was growing up, for instance, I didn't drink, I didn't do any of that stuff, I didn't smoke, I didn't do any of it. But when you get thrown in at the deep end here, people it's almost like peer pressure almost, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, well, everyone else is going out for a cigarette, so I'm going to go out for a cigarette. Well, everyone else is drinking copious amounts of alcohol, so I'm going to drink copious amounts of alcohol. And you know, obviously, we're all clean from drugs now. I barely drink at all at this point. You know, I sometimes go and enjoy some glasses of wine because I like the taste, but I don't drink to get drunk anymore. I certainly don't drink every day. It's normally once a month, maybe once every couple of months. And so I think, yeah, the biggest life lesson it's taught me that you are enough just being you. You know, that old me that I was before I got famous or whatever you want to call it is the person that I truly am, and the person that I am now. You know, and so it's very easy in the sort of journey of life to get lost along the way, because everyone's sort of trying to find themselves and prove themselves and discover who they are and figure out where they're going and what they need to do, and it's easy to get lost. But ultimately, you know, I think it's important that we try and get back to finding ourselves and get back to our roots, and that's something that our ups and downs in AA has definitely taught me. Who writes the lyrics mostly? It depends what album. Stand Up and Scream, I wrote a lot of those lyrics with Danny, probably 50-50. Reckless and Relentless, same thing. From Death to Destiny, I wrote a lot of lyrics, but less. Danny started to take the reins on that more. And then with the self-titled album and the new album, Danny wrote nearly all of the lyrics. I wrote a handful, and for The Black, I wrote majority of the lyrics. I would say probably 90%, 85% of those lyrics were written by me. Why did you move to England and leave Dubai? Are you in touch at all with the original members you had in Dubai? I left Dubai and went back to England because I'm obviously not a UAE national. I'm English, and so to live in Dubai, much like any place that you move to that's not your country of origin, you need a visa to live there. And so when I finished school, my education visa was obviously over, and so for me to continue living there and to get a visa, I would have had to have found a job there, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to move back to England and follow my dreams of playing music as a career. And so I left Dubai and moved back to England. And yeah, I am still in touch with a lot of the original members I had in Dubai. I'm still, you know, I'm still close with Majid Al-Qasimi, who was one of our drummers. Hitesh, he was another drummer. We had a lot of drummers. I still talk to James Murray every now and again, who was the original singer. Dayan, one of our bass players, he lives in Canada. I still keep in touch with him every now and again. So we're not like in each other's lives daily, but we keep in touch. We know what each other are doing, which is nice, I think. Stacey, what is one thing you would tell an up-and-coming band to do to be as successful as you are? Be prepared to work. The funny thing is, people think that being in a band is just one big party, but it's so much work. Like literally, I wake up in the morning at around 6:30 every morning, and by 7, I'm working. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone all day long, probably 8 hours, 9 hours a day, figuring stuff out for the band, trying to figure out tours, trying to figure out, crew members or records or any one of the multitude of things that goes into running a band and a business. So it's a lot of hard work. Don't expect it to just get given to you. And when you do start to make traction and start to build and grow, then the hard work just becomes even harder. You need to maintain now, and you need to carry on growing. So just be prepared to dedicate your life to it. For me, it's worth it. I love doing this, but it is a difficult lifestyle for a lot of people. Grace, what's your favorite tattoo and what's the meaning behind it, if it has one? My favorite tattoo is probably my chest piece. It's 2 swallows, and it says family first across my collarbones. And basically I got those when I left home, because sailors used to follow those birds to shore, so it would get them home safely. And so I basically got it as a tribute to my mom, my sister, and my dad, and my family that I was leaving behind in England to move to America. That no matter how far I went, no matter how far I flew, I would always come back home at the end of the year and be with them again. And I do, I fly home, or they fly to me every year, still to this day. So Ben, what guitar are you going to be playing live if you're doing a giveaway with your main Fender at the Fishmoon? Congrats on the new album. I'm still waiting for my pre-order from the US, but I look forward to it. I'm going to continue playing my Fenders. I'm going to get another one. I'm really gutted to get rid of that guitar. I hope it goes to a good home. I'm picking the winner in the next few days, and whoever gets it, I hope it's a good home. I absolutely adore that guitar. It's been through a lot. I'm not a person that likes to get loads and loads of guitars and just have loads of guitar changeovers on stage. Some people love that. Cameron has a million guitars that he changes on stage, which is cool. He has loads of really great looking guitars. For me, I like to just have a few, and I like to just play them over and over and over until they're like worn. They're worn in, and they become part of you. Like this guitar right next to me now, this Gibson Les Paul is look at this, needs a trim. This is the guitar I used to record bits of Stand Up and Scream and Reckless and Relentless and stuff, and I've still got it, and I still write music on it, and I still play it, and I don't clean it very often because I like when they get beat up. I like when they have stories to tell. Cody, what song are you most excited to play live off the new album? Oh man, that is such a brutal question, because I'm so excited to play so many. I'm so excited to play Anti-Socialist live just because I know it's a bouncy energy, it's a bouncy tempo, and I'm really excited to have a room full of people literally scream, "I don't fucking like you," right at me. I think it's going to be hilarious and quite ironic. I'm really excited to play I Don't Need You. I think I Don't Need You is probably my favorite song I've ever written, so I'm really excited to play I Don't Need You. Oh man, They Don't Want What We Want. I think it's going to be really, really heavy live. House on Fire, huge chorus. I'm excited to play them all, man. I'm stoked. Has there ever been a place that you toured that you'd not want to go there again? No, not a place. I think I've had bad experiences in certain places, but that I don't think it was ever down to the place. It was mainly down to the fact that when I was younger and we toured, I didn't see anywhere. I went to a bar and I just got drunk and played a show. I never actually explored. But the older I've gotten, and now that I don't do all that stuff and I've picked up photography, I like to explore the places I go. So I would go back to anywhere, and take my camera with me and actually explore the country for what it is and what it has to offer. When are you going to finish your sleeve? Well, I don't know. I started getting tattooed when I was really young. I think I got my first tattoo when I was like 15, 16. And I was really into it and I loved it and it was really cool. And by the time I was 18, 19, I had pretty much all of this done. I think I was like 20 when I got this, I don't know. And as I've got older, one, they're really painful. I don't like it. It really, really hurts. It really hurts. Not fun. And two, they're expensive. They're really expensive. And I don't really like asking tattoo artists to sort of tattoo me for free. It doesn't feel fair. That's their art. It's like when people come to me like, hey, want to give me your album for free? It's like, well, I worked really hard on this. So I pay for my tattoos. I pay for all of my tattoos. I might have 1 or 2 free tattoos. In fact, I got 2 of my kids' names tattooed to me for free backstage at a festival because they were offering it backstage to artists. But on the whole, I pay for these tattoos, all my big pieces and stuff, and it's really expensive. And as I've got older and I've got kids and a mortgage and school fees and car payments and taxes to pay, I kind of just sit there and go, well, I can't really justify spending thousands of dollars on tattoos. There's other stuff I could be spending my money on that would be better suited. Quentin, we know they don't want is actually named Panic, but what are some or all of the older songs that got renamed, and what are their true names? That's a really good question. But off the top of my head, honestly, probably because I'm so tired, I cannot remember. I can't even remember the proper names of the songs that made it to the album now. I'm so tired. But they always did start with like funny names. Like this album in particular, we were doing animal names. So What's Gonna Be was originally called Cats. The Violence was called Dogs. It's Not Me, It's You was called Bears. What else was there? We were naming them all animals for some reason on this new album. And then once it went beyond the animals and vocals went in. Okay, so is it Take Some Time? What was that called? Crossing Lines. Take Some Time was called Crossing Lines originally. All Due Respect was called I'm Nothing Like You originally. Man, there were a lot of different names. Obviously, They Don't Want What We Want was originally called Panic. Anti-Socialist was always called Anti-Socialist. Man, I'm gonna have to think more about that, and somehow I'm gonna tell everyone on the internet somehow what they were actually called, because that's cool. I like that. Little fun facts and trivias. But yeah, anyways, guys, I am gonna head out now and spend some time with my newborn baby and make sure my wife's doing okay. She's got 3 kids down there all by herself. So I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come and hang out with me. To any of you that did tip, like I said, all the money will be donated to Save Our Stages. I thank you for helping keep venues around the country open. It means a lot to me, obviously, and I'm sure it does to you guys too. If you haven't checked out our new album, Like a House on Fire, yet, please go and do so. If you have checked it out, keep checking it out, keep listening, keep streaming it, purchase it from iTunes if you can. It means the world to us, especially since we're not touring right now. Thank you guys so much for spending your evening, your afternoon with me. I look forward to getting back out on the road, and thank you all so much. I appreciate it, guys. Cheers.